First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right?
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Dr. Kent Hall on the line right now. Doc, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good. Great to hear from you. I feel like I miss you. We went from talking to you every single day.
We're going through Dr. Hall withdrawal.
I'm going through withdrawal here. So
yeah, and then you were on vacation, so we didn't get to talk. I got to talk to Andrew and to Jeff for a little while anyway.
And I'm sure that was far more fun than speaking with me. Okay, so I got to tell you, watching network news last night, it seems like we're walking our way back into a potential crisis around the country. Are we, or are they sounding an alarm that doesn't really need to be sounded here, just trying to grab clicks and views here? What's going on?
Yeah, so I would say that it is it's a crisis in spots. It's not a crisis like it was, back last January, February, when it was a crisis everywhere.
Yeah.
Certainly there are spots where the emergency departments are, once again being inundated, where the ICUs are getting up to capacity. Those tend to be the areas where the vaccination rate has been relatively lower, and it's not really all that surprising, given that we've really loosened up what we have been talking about in terms of wearing masks and social distancing. Yeah. And there are some areas where the vaccination rate is in the 20% or 30% range, as opposed to what we have in Oneida County, which is 70% plus. So.
I have to say, my wife and I and family flew and traveled last week, and I on the plane you're wearing a mask. Any public transportation you're wearing a mask. But otherwise, you're really not. Most everything we did was outdoors, which you feel a little more comfortable with that. We're in the state of Florida, where I don't know how the virus can. Well, maybe the virus, it's like an incubator. It's so hot and humid there. Maybe those are good conditions for the virus. I don't know. But the reality is, I think people are trying to go back to normal. But Florida is one of those states where there's a spike. The virus is spiking again.
Yeah, I really would caution people against, quote unquote, going back to normal.
Yeah.
I think that we need to still be vigilant. I will tell you, and there's a part of me that really hopes that I'm wrong, but I will tell you that I think that when we get into the fall, that we're going to see, even in our area, which has a relatively higher vaccination rate, we're going to see more cases and more people in the hospital. It's going to be a different population.
Yeah.
Because we have, vaccinated a lot of the elderly and a lot of the more vulnerable. But I think that we're going to be seeing, a fair number of people getting infected and some number of people that are going to need to be in the hospital. So over the holiday weekend, so 2 weeks ago now, we were actually down to 0 patients in the Mohawk Valley.
Yep.
We're now up to 4. So, 4 is not a big number. It's not like the 240 that we had back in January.
Right.
But it's a tick up in the wrong direction, and and that goes to people not quote unquote going back to normal.
Can I ask you on this? Of those 4 people in the hospital, what percentage is vaccinated?
Yeah, so none of them have been vaccinated.
That's the thing. I am so sick and yesterday I get off the air and John, who's on after us? Kilmeade. Brian Kilmeade is off this week, and he has a replacement, and she's going off on anti-vaccination. They shouldn't make us. They can't make us, which they're not. They're trying to encourage people, and in some cases, she's upset because colleges are requiring it. Well, go somewhere else. I can't even stand to listen to this anymore. if almost everyone in the nation that is dying from COVID right now is not vaccinated. Why can't people see this? I don't understand.
So I fully understand where you're coming from, and the reality
it's quite
is
frustrating.
That, people are tend to look at things through their own lens. No, actually, they don't tend to. Everybody looks at things through their own lens.
Yeah.
It is frustrating, certainly, and I just try to stick to this is what the science says. This is what we're seeing, which goes along with what the science says. And so, really, you can heed it or not, but if you don't heed it, then you're doing it at your own peril and potentially the peril of your family and your loved ones and other people within your community, which is really not fair.
Quick story, and then I'll let you go into the weekend. But the story I saw on the news last night was a guy who he and his wife were both anti-vaccination. They had 5 kids. Both he and his wife. No vaccination. They're anti-vaccination. He was on the news last night saying, I was wrong. Get vaccinated. That is after him and his wife and his kids all came down with COVID. He and his wife were both hospitalized. She's now in therapy trying to learn how to walk again. So, people got to wake up here. Do you want to trust science or Facebook? Which is it? Because if your choice is Facebook, I'd rather you stay clear of me. Just for the record. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
I don't support Dr. Facebook.
No, what are we doing here?
So, and I'll just say, former President Trump is a guy who got the vaccine. So if you're in that group, like that guy got a vaccine, it's probably
early. Yeah. All right, Doc, thank you. Enjoy the weekend. We appreciate it. Thank you.